Hi, everybody. This is Patty with Get Balanced 2020 and Divine Warrior Intuitive. So, today I'm doing a spiritual growth video rather than doing a mental or a physical video. So, I hope you actually get a pencil, get a paper, because there's going to be lots and lots of notes on why your life is not going the way that you expected it to, or maybe it turned left when you wanted it to go right, or maybe it went south when you wanted it to go north. So we're going to find out why that happened. We're also going to dig deep into that, and then we're going to fix it. So we're going to change it. We're going to do a 180. So I hope that you get your pencil, paper, pause it, and go get a pencil and paper because you'll have lots of notes, or get ready to watch this 2 or 3 times, which is, I hope, what you do. So anyway, what we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you some ideas of what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about your foundations, where those come from, why you're choosing and making the choices and decisions that you are, because that's what this is all about, your choices and your decisions. Then we're going to talk about your lifeline. You're going to talk about where that lifeline is, or if you want to call it an anchor, you can call it an anchor. What holds you through your storms, your challenges, your struggles, that kind of a thing. And what is handicapping you, or what is making you not get through those challenges and what those challenges are like. And then we're going to talk about how to turn that focus around, give you tools and tips, and give you some homework to take so that you can actually now turn your life around to not only struggles and things not turning out the way that you wanted to, but to more peace, more abundance, and more joy. So let's get started. So a lot of the times our decisions determine our own reality. So that is, if you have to think about that, think about that. Our decisions determine our own reality. Now, our decisions, where are those decisions based on? Those decisions are based on our foundation. Now, you're like, well, what do you mean by my foundation? Where your whole thought process is coming from, where your mindset is coming from. So we have two ways of thinking. And if you listen to my videos, you probably already know what I'm going to say. But the thing is, we can either live in a two-dimensional world like the divine works in, but we also think from one of those as well. So when we get into this process, where does your thinking and your base foundation come from? Do you even know? So a lot of our foundations come from our childhood. Sorry, folks, but you got to go all the way back there. And so when I say that is you've got to realize that the roots and the core of who you are is what you were trained to believe and why you were trained to believe that. And is it really truth? Is it really, really truth? Just because you were trained in it, is it really truth? Or is it your truth? And how are you going to change that if it's not? What I mean by is our generations after generations after generations have taught us their way of doing things. Okay, thank you. So what happens is we begin to just do things out of habit because we're told. So we don't question our foundation. And when we do, we get sort of chastised for it, not only from our family, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That's not the way we do things. Or we get society chastising it because we want to go against the grain. So let me give you an example. So where is your foundation based from? This is one thing that you want to start to write down. Where is my belief system? Where is my morals? And where is the core of my being based from? And is it me? Is it really, really me? Because here's the thing. I'm going to give you a little bit story. Some of you may know it. So grandma used to, at Christmas time, grandma used to have a ham. And that ham, even though it was really delicious, she would take it out of the pan and both ends would be cut off. So as grandma did that, then the next generation comes and they're like, well, I want ham for Christmas too. So let's do it like grandma did. And we put it in the pan and we take it out and the ends are cut off. And then the next generation does the same thing all along. But then everybody's asking, why are the ends cut off? Why does grandma cut the ends off? Is it for flavor? What was it? Was it something to do with, inserting the flavors to the ham? What is it? The pineapple flavor, whatever she put on it. So go back and ask Grandma, why, Grandma, do you cut off the ends of the ham? We just want to know. She goes, oh, honey, I had a ham. It didn't fit the pan, so I had to cut off the ends. Lo and behold, Grandma had a reason why she did what she did. But the generations after that never asked questions to why she did. So you could have been eating the ends of the ham all the time and saving money. And the point of this story is we have to really understand where our foundation is. If it is true and if it is not true, maybe it needs to be tweaked or twisted. Not saying that you have to change your whole being, but maybe you have questions. And I'm going to go on to this with the spirituality part, because this is the whole key behind your decisions and your questions and your answers and things like that. So a lot of the times we believe in the spiritual way of things because that's the way we were brought up. I was brought up Catholic, but I knew at the age of 8 something wasn't right. Don't get me wrong. If you believe in Catholicism, that's your belief. As I talk about the divine, I talk about the divine as, so that you understand that the divine is either God, it could be the divine, it could be the sacred one, it could be the energies, it could be whatever you believe in. However, it is individual to each and every person of what their belief is. Now, is there something more to us? Yes, there is. And I have witnessed firsthand. So, but my foundation said, no, I shouldn't have abilities. No, I shouldn't talk about the supernatural. No, I shouldn't talk about the paranormal. You shouldn't do that because that's demonic. Or we just don't talk about that. Why not? Why not? So at the age of 8, because I knew things weren't right and I knew my energies were different than other people's energies, why can't I ask these questions? We were friends with the priest in the family, and we couldn't even ask him, why can't we talk about revelations? Why can't we? We just don't do that. Okay, so it all depends on where your foundation starts, what you can do, some don't want to talk about sex, some don't want to how babies are born, things like that. Where is your foundation? That's the number one question. The question is, are you an earth-based foundation, human, or are you spiritual based? Now, we'll talk about that a little bit more, because as we get older, it makes a difference. So when we're born, we actually don't have the cognitive development, of course, as a child. We don't even have that. Now it's changed. So if you study psychology or anything like that, they talk about the frontal lobe. Okay, so this is where your foundation begins. As a baby, you have to depend on somebody else teaching you and guiding you and helping you, correct? So then what happens is when you become a young adult, your brain still is not fully functioned. You have the frontal lobe, which is your decision-making part. It is also your clarity and awakening and knowing to discern what is truth and what is not kind of a truth until you're about 25. It used to be back in the day when I studied psychology, 21, but now in 2020, 2021, it's 25. And it's due to the way that we're actually hindering our brain with all the technology. However, that is why you find young adults doing things that they should not have been doing, ending up in jail because their decision part of their brain is not developed enough. Okay, so with that, that can really change a lot of your perspective. So when I worked in criminal justice or studied criminal justice, we understood that a lot of the young adults under the age of 21 at that time were in jail. Not a lot of them, but I mean, if they're going to go to jail, that's when they're going to do it. And then they can either become a repeat offender because they're brain function isn't still fully developed, but also too, their choices now are really bad. Their decisions are really bad. And bad by meaning destructive. Some people say, well, there is no good, there is no bad. There is constructive, destructive, no matter which way you look at it. You can either help your life or you can hinder your life. So a lot of that happens. Now, what happens is when we move from adolescence and young adulthood to a grown-up, we have just transferred our foundation all the way into the adulthood. So, depending on where your foundation was, whether it was a healthy one, whether it was a spiritual one, whether it was a based one. Now, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about having a relationship, hearing the divine, or having abilities with the divine, or understanding that there is more to this life than what we can see, because the divine works in 2 dimensions. The divine works in seeing and touching, but he also works in the unseen. And that's where most of the work is done. That's where your decisions are made. That's where your choices are made. So a lot of the times when I ask, or in my sessions on Divine Warrior Intuitive, I'll say, are you thinking earth or are you thinking spirit? Are you thinking human or are you thinking divine? Are you thinking not truth and illusion or are you thinking truth? Big, big, big difference in the way that we function. I used to think earth all the time. I was so messed up, you guys. I was so messed up and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, why everything kept going left, why problem happened over and over and over and over, back to back, back to back, back to back. It was because of the choices and the decisions I was making were earth-based. They weren't spiritual-based. So we got to find out what that is. Now, if you look at the thumbnail of this, you'll see a man climbing up, right? He's got one leg, he's got a rope, and it seems to be anchored somewhere, right? So what he's doing is he's trying to go forward, he's trying to go up. That is spiritual. If your anchor is down below and in the past, there's no way you can move forward. So you hear this is in the month of, we're in the actual year of Aquarius. And Aquarius is all about forward movement and a lot more other things. However, you always want to be moving forward, moving straight. Now, does that mean that your life is going to be easy? No, there's going to be switchbacks and things. But the thing is, where is your anchor? Where's that lifeline? Imagine a boat, okay, and you have an anchor. Where is it usually at? In the front. It needs to be in the front moving forward. Your lifeline needs to be in the front and moving forward. Now, a lot of the things that I talk about is releasing the past, releasing what is you're carrying with you, that baggage. So the baggage is your poor choices, your poor decisions based on earth. Okay, and that is a human thing. That's very typical because most of us don't know how to live by spirit. So what happens is as we grow in our adulthood, if we are actually tweaking our thinking and our thought process, we grow up sort of broken, like a shattered vase. Okay, and we're trying to glue each piece back together to make that vase look whole again. So what we have to understand is that each time that we make a poor decision, that vase gets shattered just a little bit more and a little bit more, and we have to keep putting it back together. So what is those little shattered pieces? Because a lot of the times what happens in adulthood and the way our thought process works is that we begin to get angry, we begin to get bitter, we begin to get hostile, we get to get very opinionated and very assertive, almost aggressive opinionated. We get to hate. We get to the horrible, horrible, horrible attitudes that actually keep us lowered vibrations, keep us stuck, keep us from moving forward to a very peaceful life. Okay, that's earth. How do you break that? We're going to go there in a minute. Okay, so basically this determines how your outcome is going to be. When you make a decision, you're going to be basing. So if you were to make a decision and we were talking, I would say, okay, what'd you base your decision off of? Well, he said or she said. And I'm like, okay, so that's anger based, so that's human, earthly based. It has nothing to do with spirit. Now I probably lost a bunch of you, right? So what we're going to do, here's the thing. We're going to talk about the challenges in overcoming that. Okay, so we talked about your foundation, where that comes from, why it comes that way. You really have to go back and think about these things, because I'm not in your skin, I'm not in your head. Where is your foundation from? Where is your anchor? Is your anchor actually spiritual, that you're going to hang on and persevere and make it through your challenge? Or is it stuck in the past, where a lot of the decisions you make and the choices you make are actually based from past relationships, past experiences? Fear, that is a big one, people. Fear. So what happens is, when we do fear, then we are definitely not living in a spirit mindset. All right. So let's take a look at the guy who's climbing the mountain there. So he's got a physical handicap. I don't like that word. It's really not a handicap, because there are some people that have some physical challenges that will supersede anybody with all the amenities. I call it, he is physically challenged. And a lot of us could be very physically challenged. We could be very mentally challenged. I am not talking about mental developmental disabilities. I'm not talking about anybody that can't cognitively think. I'm talking about the average human being that is probably from 20 to whatever age. And that person that can cognitively think and make decisions for themselves. Okay, don't email me and say, hey, well, there's this. Yes, there is. There is really some medical reasons why somebody may not be able to think with a clear mind. However, I'm not talking about them. All right. But I am talking about the gentleman on the mountain, where he's heading up. He is anchored to make sure he doesn't fall. And if he falls, he's caught. He is caught. He is safe. And that's the way we have to think. If I do this, whether the outcome is what I want it to be or not want it to be, I'm going to be okay. I am going to know that this is not my path. This is not what I'm supposed to do. This is not who I'm supposed to be with. This is not what I'm supposed to have, and be okay with it. Wouldn't that be awesome, that even though you didn't get what you want or who you wanted, that you still are okay with it? That's healing. That's wholeness. So, but the thing is, what we want to do is look at some of the reasons why you might have your life going all like this or all like this, or whatever it is, to why those decisions might be happening. Now get your pencil and paper ready, because some of these decisions might be common sense to you, but then I bet you there's one in here that you don't even think about. All right. And the decisions that we make, these are all earth-based decisions. Think about that. So, of course, it's going to depend on a bad foundation. If you already started out with a bad foundation, your truth and your reality is already tweaked a little bit to where it's going to allow you to make bad decisions, because your truth is skewed. Thank you. I couldn't remember the word. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is, the circumstances can be out of our control, that we don't know, and we try to hurry into a decision, and then we make a wrong choice or a wrong decision. And that could be based on a circumstance that is out of our control. So maybe there's lightning hits the house and the house catches fire. That is out of our control. We can try to stop it, but I might get burned, I might get hurt. And if I go into a burning house, I have that chance of maybe getting smoke inhalation and dying. So, but that's just a really extreme example. However, that's nature. We cannot control that. Well, the government's trying to, but anyway. So also too, another decision, and this is sort of a whole different gamut. I'm not going to lean on this today, but how we allow toxic people and toxic habits into our life or not. That's a big one. And that has to do a lot with your foundation as well. So, and then our other things are circumstances that are in our control. Majority of our decisions, these are circumstances in our control, whether you want to believe it or not. Okay, then we have also decision fatigue. We are making decisions day in, day out, day in, day out, and we're tired. So then we don't have a clear mind. We just make a decision, just like, I just want it over with, make a decision, and then later regret the outcome. There's always a responsibility and accountability to a decision, whatever you make. Okay. And then the distractions. Distractions, I talk about this in my channel all the time because we need to keep blinders on. We need to keep doing that. In a spiritual world, you will have to. As an empath and the abilities that I have, I literally have to block things out. I'm pretty much a loner because I don't want all that noise. I don't want all that distraction away from my path or what I'm supposed to be doing for other people. I won't allow myself that distraction. And if it gets too noisy, I have to literally make a choice and step away. And if that hurts somebody, I'm really sorry, but I have to do that for my relationship with the divine. So a lot of what we're being distracted by TVs, we're being distracted by iPhones, we're being distracted by computers, you're being distracted by me right now. But what I'm saying is we're distracted by nonsense, stuff that TVs. How many hours do you sit in front of a TV, very non-productive, not doing anything, and you just want to tune out? That really, I never do that. I do it for 1 hour a day to relax, listen to the news, and I listen to like 10 minutes of the news because I don't want to hear all that negative stuff. And that is it. That is it. And now these news channels are all liberal and right and all that. And so I try not to even listen to it at all. One of the other things is the biggest thing that I do want to talk about, and this is multitasking. This is going to interrupt not only your earthly balance, but it's going to interrupt your spiritual balance of trying to make a decision. Because when you multitask, you're actually killing your brain. I know everybody's like, what? Say what? You've got telomeres there. You're actually, if you increase the telomere at the end, it actually can become cancerous. And that's what they find, that the longer the telomere, the more that cancer could be prevalent. But the other thing is that you cannot clearly think when you're doing 2 or 3 things at one time. And what that does is it increases your dopamine in your brain. What is dopamine? It's that chemical that goes to your brain that says, I like this because this makes me feel good. That's dopamine. And the more that you do it, the more your body craves it, wants that dopamine feel. So this is what gaming does to the kids. They get that feel, they want it. And then when they stay away from it, they're craving it. This is sort of like it's not an addiction, but it is something that increases your dopamine to a level that becomes sort of a habit. It's in a loop. It's in a, what do you call it? It's in a feedback loop. So it's feeding your brain. Oh, I don't have that right now. I want you to give it to me. I don't have that right now. I want you to give it to me. Well, we can do that. That's also called if we get a natural high. So you get those people with the fear factor kind of things, or they're jumping off all over the extremists as far as sports. That's their dopamine. They got to have that if you keep feeding. If they were to stop that, then it would be like having a withdrawal. All right. So when you do multitask, that is what you're teaching your brain. And you're teaching your brain, and it's actually not healthy for your brain. You're actually killing some of the chemical processes in your brain, and it's actually lowering your able to, 1, concentrate, 2, it's also interrupting your clarity, and that can stay for long term. Got to be careful, guys. That is just something. It also increases cortisol. Cortisol is something that creates stress. So you're adding more stress to your brain. Then that in turn sends signals to your body, adds more stress, and then you become more stressed. You become more agitated. You become more angry easy. Your body just knows. And sometimes when you don't even think you're stressed out, you're stressed out. So anyway, I'm getting away from that. But the thing is, what I'm trying to make you understand, multitasking keeps you in an earth-based thinking. You will make more poor decisions and choices if you multitask, because you cannot keep a focus on one thing. It's sort of like the people that say their head's always full. It's like they can't shut their brain down. And that's because they're multitasking in their brain. I used to be one of those people. I used to be so horrible at it. And the thing was, I wasn't doing myself any good. Your work sort of suffers, your family sort of suffers. And I say sort of because it doesn't things don't come crashing down, but they could if you get too, because then you're not focused. You're not focused on what really is important. So the thing is also too, it's an instant gratification. So is addiction. That instant gratification. We're not going to talk about addiction today, but this is earth-based. Instant gratification, earth-based thinking. Okay, so what I'm going to go to now is really the spiritual side of it, because this is where you can change your life 100%. So spiritual, when I say spiritual side, making your decisions better based on a complete different systemal thinking or system thinking. You're thinking earth now. That's more of I want, I need, I yada da da da. It's more me. It's not somebody else's perspective. It is not what somebody else is thinking, what somebody else's truth is. This is, and then we get into our me. This is an enclosed way of thinking. Earth is enclosed way of thinking. Spiritual based, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in Buddha, whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in Mother Nature, whatever it is that you believe in, it is a power that is unseen, that actually helps and guides us and gives us a GPS and is there to teach us if you allow it. What it teaches us, whatever you call it, is love and truth. And once you base your decisions and choices off those two things, I will tell you firsthand experience, and I have heard this over and over because people have said, what has changed in you? What are you doing? You're so different now. And in a better way, not a horrible way. But the thing was, I changed my life from a earth-based thinking to a spiritual-based thinking. And that wasn't an easy task. That's why I'm saying you have to write this down. You have to watch. You have to watch. You have to watch. You have to watch. You have to feed your brain with things that are going to actually bring you to that level. That climber's going up. He's not going down. And when he comes down, it's going to be easy because he's just going to slide on down. But going up, it's definitely a hard, that is a very hard road, because you have to change. Your body, your mind is going to throw a tantrum. It's going to say, no, I don't want to change because it's so much more fun this way. The dopamine's fun. The cortisol's fun. The earth way is fun. That is not the way that your body and your brain is supposed to be working. So, you ready? This is the guts of the video, guys. I know it's a little long, but the key points is to turn your focus around. Okay, so what you need to do, here's the key things that you need to do. You ready? Write this down. You need to stop. Number 2, you need to think. Number 3, you need to analyze. And then number 4, you need to act. Stop, think, analyze, and then act. Many people have those completely reversed. That's earth. So when you think, what you're doing is you're pulling in the information. Is this something that I really need to think about? Is this something I really need to worry about? Is this something that is going to affect me? Is this something that is going to affect the people around me? Is this love? Is this truth? Is there a lesson in it? Is there not a lesson in it? And if you say no to all of those, then you need to walk away from that, whatever that decision is, or that conversation, or maybe this is something while you're thinking. And once you get down this little habit of doing this, this is going to go like this. You're going to like, Pat, that takes too long. What do you think? Okay, now I got to stop. Yeah, you got to breathe. Take a breath. Is this something I really, really want to interact with? But when you start doing these 4 little things, it will change your life immensely, because the 2 things you're going to ask yourself when you get this information: is this spirit-based or is this earth-based? Earth-based, here's how to tell. Is it going to matter when you pass over the rainbow? When you kick your heels up? When you eat dirt? When you go over to the other side? Whatever you want to call, is it going to matter? Majority of the time, it doesn't. Most politics, most things that people are fighting about are just not important enough to matter when you go on the other side. Now, I might get a lot of flack, but that's fine, because you know what? That's earth-based thinking. So what is, when I'm thinking and trying to decide if I should be talking to this person about this or not talking about this, is it spiritual based? Is it out of love? Is it going to matter in the future or wherever? Everybody points up, but he's all over the place. He's energy. He's just energy. He's everywhere. He's omniscient, or what is that word? He's everywhere. He's even in your thoughts. Trust me, I know. I hear him a lot. But the thing is that you have to make sure it's spiritually based. Is it truth? And whose truth is it? That's the big question. So it's like, that's their truth. Is it your truth? So let's go back to, as a kid, I was raised Catholic. That was my mother's truth. That's what she believed in. Wasn't my truth. Because I knew there's more, because I was different. I had abilities. Nobody wanted to talk about them, but they said that you don't talk about those things. Is this spirit-based truth? If it's not of love, it's not spirit-based. If it has to create destruction to get its way, that is not spirit-based. If it is not to uplift somebody else, it is not spirit-based. If it is to tear down somebody else, it is not spirit-based. So that is what I'm talking about. When it is a job, when you're working, you're like, Pat, how do I do this at work? You can do it at work. You can accept certain things or not. You can accept certain things from your coworkers or not. That is your choice to allow. For me, my last job, I could not stand an office that had gossipy women. They would gossip, and they would try to draw me in. I'd say, I don't do that. Lo and behold, gradually I was isolated. Fine, you want to isolate me? Not a problem. You want to gossip? And that's very destructive, low vibrational energies. Very hard to work around that, let me tell you. But the thing is, if I turn around and allow it, that's my choice and decision, very poor choice and decision. Because again, you're destructing somebody's character and demeaning their character without even knowing them. You're joining in on that destructive energy, that low energy. That is a choice. So when you make your choice in love and say, I love myself not to talk about somebody else. I love myself not to take that drink. I love myself not to smoke that much. I love myself to make better choices in who I'm going to sleep with or marry or whatever that is. So this is a really, really huge, huge, huge step. You really need to think. And then what you're going to do next is you're going to analyze. So if this is something I'm going to think about and want to interact with, I need to know exactly where the truth is. So we're talking about, let me think of a topic. Oh, help me up here, Divine. Help me up here. Thank you. Divine says, I want you to talk about what you do when nobody's around. So you're talking to somebody saying, oh yeah, hey, the office was closed, and they had all these things in there, and they had so many. There was such a big box. I just wanted to take one. You want one? I'll get you one. Nobody's looking, and that is about integrity and morals. Do you go and allow him to take you one? It's something that you really, really wanted. It's something that nobody was around. That is a choice and a decision, and that is of either earth or spirit. Doing something when you know that nobody's looking, what your actions are, is actually your integrity and your character. Where is yours? Now, the other thing is that when we do that, we are analyzing. If you're talking to this person, they say, yeah, do you want to do that? It's like, you know what, dude? That's not good. That's really, that's destructive. That's not a really smart thing to do, a wise thing to do. Because if you get caught, you lose your job. You get caught. I'll tell you a story, and this is a true story. One of my jobs worked for a big warehouse company in the United States. It was one of two. You can figure out who they were. But anyway, one time there was a lot of theft going on, and what happened was they did a sting. They wanted to catch these people that were stealing from the company. Well, what happened was one of the people that actually had their job for over, I think at that point in time, 15 years, topped out, making the top dollar, top bonuses, which at that time were like $1,500 every 6 months, had all the insurance benefits, had all the great things going for him. But the thing was, he decided one day to walk out the door with two little tiny lobster tails that probably cost $10 at that time, because this has been quite a while ago. He got caught. He lost his job. When you make a decision to do something that you shouldn't be doing, that is earth-based. When you can feel that in your spirit, and this could be a relationship, this could be anything in your life, you need to analyze that, go back and figure out what are the things that you made a poor choice in. Why was it a poor choice? Was it earth-based or spirit? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you it's earth. But the thing is, and the point is, that we make a decision on earth-based, but now what happened? We don't think about it. We don't analyze the outcome, because if he's married, that not only affected him, which was a poor choice, that affected his wife, because now he doesn't have a job, a stable job. That maybe affected his children. Maybe the children needed something for school or whatever their needs is until he gets another job. When he gets that other job, it's going to be lower paying. And so it's going to affect all the people around him that loves. There is accountability and responsibility to the choices that we make. Earth. Now, let's switch the other way. If we're talking and saying, no, don't do that, and he says, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't do that. That's, my bad. Don't do that. What happens then? Big time. This actually, not only did he make a wise choice or she make a wise choice, there's nothing to be accountable for. There's nothing to be responsible for. But what else happened? That person who was asking, do you want one? Do you want one? I'll get you one. That person who said, no, that's probably not a wise choice, or maybe said, you know what, you can lose your job doing that. Not only stopped that person, went outside of themselves. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Went outside of themselves to not only try to protect another person, but to teach them a lesson that even though somebody is not watching, this is your integrity, this is your morals, don't do that. And that person doesn't. What happens? They go home, they have their job, they have their family. Nothing is affected. What happens? Peace. Peace. Inner peace. I mean, he might be thinking, man, that would have been really, really nice. But you know what? I think I did the right thing. But there's inner peace. That is spirit. When you do this over and over and over again and transform your brain and your mindset to more spirit, more choices being done like this, then what happens is your life changes 180. Because now you're making choices, decisions based on spirit and love and truth. What is truth to the divine? Righteousness. What is righteousness to the divine? The power of all galaxies, whatever you want to believe in. And people believe divine is a human being. He's not a human being. He's a deity. What is a deity? Energy. Okay. But this is really, really huge, because when you begin to do this, and I'll tell you, I did this step by step. And every single decision I made from that day forward, like a light switch, I sat and I'm like, let me think about that. You can take the time to think about something. If somebody's rushing you into something, like a car salesman, don't get me, but most past car salesmen, let's buy it now. You got to do it now. It's a lot of these weight management things. People, please don't. You got to get it now. You get $100 off right now. And then they impulse you, and that is Earth. Because Earth is instant gratification. Earth is get it now, a want. And a spirit is giving you what you need. That is what, and righteousness is what you would do when nobody is looking. And what you would say when that person isn't around. Would you be loving words or 0 words? Would you be caring words or 0 words? Or would you be gossiping? Earth. These are things that I'm talking about. These choices, this key point right here out of this whole video is what I want you to get. Because if you make your decisions by spirit-based, you are not only going to have joy, you're going to have peace, you're going to have less stress, your body is going to be healthier. What other things? You're going to be more patient. You're going to be living through your heart rather than heartless, because when you're living through your heart, you are selfless. When you're living not in your heart, then you are selfish. Okay? But the other thing too is what you're going to find out is you're going to become abundant. And that abundant, as an empath, creates an open energy field that grows way out. And you can feel people's energies. You can sense things that you would never sense before. You would feel and understand things better than you will ever bet. And it becomes, what happens is, once you make these decisions and choices, what's going to happen is that you are going to see these things of the earth that really don't matter, and you won't want to engage in them. And that's a good thing, because it keeps your health, your mental health, and your whole body well. The other thing is, when you are at peace and joy and abundant, you're drama free. And if you are earth-based, you're full of drama. And you will begin to see the difference in the people that you hang out with, and you're going to gradually get rid of these drama-filled people. Drama, toxic-filled people. Or you're going to be educating and teaching them. And that's what the spirit and the divine wants, is for us to share what we learned to help somebody else. That's what I'm doing. So that's pretty much where it is. However, I really, really hope that you watch this video because especially, again, share it, because a lot of our decisions, and you will never, and this will help you with your communication. It will help you with your arguing and fights with your loved one, because I don't argue, I don't fight. There's no need to. Because if you're of the divine, if you're of a spirit nature, you don't need to. Your communications get better. Your choices get better. Your decisions get better. What's there to argue about? Because I'm thinking about what I can do, what I can give, how I can love, how I can lift somebody else's vibrations up. It's not about how I can, squish somebody, destruct somebody, push down somebody. I don't have revenge. When you're thinking of revenge, hate, bitterness, anger, if you've still got those in, you need to rewatch this over and over and over, because that is fear, that is anger, that is earth-driven. And if you want peace, be like that mountain climber. He's going to make it to the top because he's anchored in the right place. His challenges are not stopping him. That leg is not stopping him. that whatever's going on in his mind is not stopping him. He's being completely focused. He is being driven. That's the divine. That's that inner. When people ask, how did you do it? How did you make it? How did you survive that? That's divine. And the other thing is, I'll tell you to end this, is that the divine has us thinking. Now, everybody thinks here first. This is Earth. If you have intuition in you, if you have a feeling of something's being right or wrong, that is the divine. Spirit starts at the heart. And I'm not going to go into that, but the heart is where the spirit lies. And that's where we really, really need to think about what we and how we make our decisions, because our spirit speaks to our mind. Our foundation tells our mind what to think, what to do, how to do it. If it's broken, we got to bring it back to spirit so that the spirit can say, no, don't take that thing. And then that grows and helps somebody else. Then our mind tells our body how to act. Don't do that. Or what to say, how to say it, what to do. And the outcome is either you take responsibility and accountability for poor actions, poor responsibility, or poor choices and decisions, or you walk away with peace, joy, abundance, patience, love, and all that kind of stuff. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope it helps somebody out there. What I will say, though, and in the ending, a lot of women, men too, but mostly women, live their life through their feelings and their emotions. And this will be another video. But the thing is, who's in control? Your feelings and emotions or you? Because if you have control of your emotions and your feelings, you have control of those. They don't have control of you. And this is where spirit comes in, that we will have peace even in your feelings and emotions, because that is the way the spirit works. So where do you think? Do you think and you control your feelings and emotions, or do your feelings and emotions control you? I hope you enjoyed this. Please have a great, great day. Don't forget to watch other videos on getbalance2020.com, or you go there and you can hit the YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate all your time, and I hope this was helpful. God bless. Walk in love and truth.